Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping straight into the ultimate mindset playbook of a true sporting legend, drawing directly from his very own words. We so often see the spectacular finish, the unwavering calm under those blinding stadium lights, but we rarely get a structured, behind-the-scenes look into the exact mental framework that actually produces those moments. So today, we're going to unpack the philosophy of a man whose name is literally synonymous with leadership and pressure. MS Tony.
But before we get into his incredible journey and those famous daily routines, I want you to ask yourself a incredibly simple but profound question. How does a legend actually handle fear? I mean, we tend to think that top-tier athletes simply don't feel pressure, right? Like they're just wired completely differently than the rest of us. But as we explore the source material today, you're going to see that it's absolutely not an absence of fear. Instead, it's a highly structured, almost mechanical response to it that makes all the difference in the world.
So, in this explainer, we're going to navigate through 5 core pillars: handling fear and pressure, the regimented childhood routine, overcoming small town challenges, the team first philosophy, and finally, looking ahead to the future. All right, let's dive right into pillar number 1: handling fear and pressure, the internal battle. According to the man himself, when pressure hits, your body just reacts instinctively and intensely. Your breathing naturally becomes shallow, your heart rate shoots up aggressively, and your system essentially goes into full panic mode, just screaming for more oxygen. It's a totally normal physiological response that happens to everyone. Whether you're stepping up to give a massive presentation at work or walking out to bat with millions of people watching. Acknowledging that this physical reality is happening is the absolute critical first step to overcoming it. And this brings us to his exact, highly deliberate counter-strategy. Instead of that typical cliche advice of just taking deep breaths, which honestly can sometimes just force the issue, you first have to consciously recognize that your breathing is shallow. Then, the real secret isn't just sucking in air, it's taking your time to explicitly focus on exhaling. That prolonged exhale is what actually signals your nervous system to chill out, letting that spiking heart rate finally drop. And step 4 is just fascinating to me. Actively distract your mind. You deliberately shift your focus away from whatever is causing the pressure while you manage your breathing. It completely neutralizes the body's panic mode. Moving right along to our second section, the regimented childhood routine, building the foundation. Now just take a look at this relentless, block-by-block daily schedule he followed for years growing up in Ranchi. You can visibly see how discipline was just hardwired into his routine from dawn to dusk. The day started sharply at 5:30 a.m. in the summers, studying right there in bed the very moment he woke up. Then it's off to school, back for lunch, and followed by rigorous seasonal sports at 4 p.m., whether that was football or cricket. By 6 p.m., back to the books, maybe a bit of TV for the news, and then lights out strictly by 9:30 p.m. And listen, this wasn't some trendy schedule he tried for a few weeks. This was his life for years. When you operate like this, discipline isn't some heroic act of willpower anymore. It literally becomes your default operating system. Now, here's the real kicker, the core motivation behind this immaculate routine. It actually wasn't born out of some intense, premature ambition to conquer the sporting world. Nope, it was rooted in the very real, very relatable fear of a strict father. He admits that playing hide-and-seek in the neighborhood never involved climbing over walls or breaking rules, simply because the fear of his strict father catching him instilled a massive sense of boundaries. This cultivated a lifelong commitment to punctuality, discipline, and avoiding unnecessary misbehavior. It just goes to show that sometimes having strict early boundaries can forge incredibly focused adults. Okay, let's shift gears to section 3, overcoming small-town challenges, a shift in perspective. When you compare these two environments, his incredibly pragmatic mindset really shines through. He points out that, yeah, sure, small towns like Ranchi have their distinct hurdles, namely delayed media exposure and just getting way fewer competitive matches to actually prove your worth to the selectors. But flip the coin and look at big metropolitan cities like Mumbai. They come with their own nightmares. You're facing overwhelming, intense competition against established national players right out of the gate, and just traveling across the city for practice can take absolute ages. The big takeaway here? Challenges exist everywhere, for sure. They just come in radically different forms. It's never about escaping the challenges. It's entirely about how you choose to navigate the ones you're handed. I absolutely love this next slide because it beautifully captures his worldview through a fantastic analogy. He states, just imagine, what are the spices? Salt, turmeric. They are very small, but it adds flavor onto life. He views life's challenges exactly like spices in a dish. I mean, think about it. In sheer volume, salt and turmeric are tiny compared to the rice or the potatoes, right? But without them, the meal is completely bland. Obstacles, setbacks, and pressures, those are your spices. They are absolutely essential for making the whole journey interesting and worthwhile. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, the Team First philosophy, defining true value. This reveals a shockingly contrarian mindset for a guy who is practically famous for dramatic finishes. First off, he doesn't actually crave those nail-biting last-over finishes that the media and fans constantly associate him with. In fact, he prefers peaceful, quiet victories where the team just wins easily and comfortably. Furthermore, he has absolutely zero focus on individual milestones or who gets to take home the ultimate credit. His sole, unshakable priority is simply taking the team home safely. It's this purely functional, low-ego approach to high-level competition. And the crucial point here is captured entirely by this single number, 30. He explains that coming in down the batting order and smashing a quick 30 runs in just 15 deliveries, well, that might not look like a massive individual milestone on a stat sheet. It's certainly not a flashy century. But if those 30 rapid runs are exactly what the team needed at that exact moment to secure the victory, then it is the ultimate, most valuable contribution a player can make. It entirely redefines what success looks like, shifting it completely away from personal glory and anchoring it purely to team utility. And finally, let's bring it home with Section 5, looking ahead to the future, the final innings. So, at 43 years old and turning 44 pretty soon, you might expect him to have these complex, calculated exit strategies. But his approach? It's remarkably simple and wonderfully stress-free. He takes it entirely 1 year at a time. He isn't projecting 5 years into the future or agonizing over his grand legacy. He is fully 100% focused on the present moment, trusting his physical body to ultimately dictate the timeline. When the body says it can no longer execute what the mind demands, well, that's when it's time to step away. It's an incredible lesson in staying present and just relinquishing the need to micromanage the uncontrollable future. As we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to leave you with a final thought. Think back to that brilliant spices analogy we talked about. Life is absolutely going to hand you pressure, obstacles, and friction. But knowing that those are the exact ingredients required to give your journey its unique flavor, how will you choose to utilize the obstacles sitting right in front of you today? Are you going to let the pressure spike your heart rate and cause panic? Or will you take a moment to exhale, focus on the team around you, and confidently step forward? Thank you so much for joining me, and keep exploring.